Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show. I'm Yanila, joined by Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hey guys.
And we have Lexa with us. Say hello, Lex.
And subscribe. I mean, hi.
And Shai is not with us today, so she will.
I've got her working in the salt mines.
She will be missed. We'll try and keep an eye on chat if you do have any follow-up questions towards the end of the show. We'll try and catch those. And we have Minus with us from Pantheon Plus. Say hello.
Hey, everybody.
So we're going to sit down with him today and chit-chat a bit about Pantheon, about their website and streaming. And I think Lex is going to get us going, aren't you, Lex?
Now, I gotta say, if I just refuse to talk, does that mean the show's over and I can go do something else?
No.
If you guys like, I could just pretend he's asking questions.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, this is a leather couch.
Oh, my wife told me not to be a dick.
Oh. I'll have to bleep that out now. You know that.
I know. Okay. She told me to not be a part of the male anatomy. But we'll get started. Please tell us a little bit about your gaming background.
Sure. So first console for me was ColecoVision. There's a good one. And it's weird because the only game, I was talking about this the other night, the only game I actually can remember is a game called Smurfs. And for some reason, when I bring that up with some people, they're like, "Oh yeah, Smurfs was awesome."
Yeah.
Right? See? You know. So yeah, ColecoVision is actually my my aunts and uncles and grandparents' console. So that's what got me started. And then, the Christmas of the NES was phenomenal. I had Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and Kung Fu.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I was a console gamer quite a bit until my grandfather really got me into building computers. And I think my fondest memories of early computer gaming was your Sierra point and clicks. Police Quest, Space Quest was probably my favorite. So playing a lot of those, and that it probably, they're not RPGs, but they felt like RPGs, right? The point and clicks, yeah, kind of.
I mean, well, it was a pseudo RPG, I guess.
Yeah, for its
we're
time,
playing a role. So
yeah.
So for the sake of argument, we'll just say yes.
So point and clicks were my big for me, and I think started playing a lot of fighters. So I was a huge fighting game guy, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, all the classics, Tekken. But what started me in the RPG world and made me go back and experience a lot was, and I'm so generic, it was Final Fantasy VII. So it was funny because I went to this little gaming store, and it was in that big fancy, was it 3 discs? I think 3 or 4 discs. Mm. So I was like, hey, this looks really cool, and that kind of wrote my future for gaming, and I went really hardcore RPG after that. So in, 99? March 99, my birthday's in March. So my girlfriend at the time bought me EverQuest. And I actually didn't follow it coming in. And I told this story the other night, but I had a copy because it was really hard to get EverQuest. I don't know if you remember that. It was really hard to get. So she got me a copy and I installed it, but it looked like something was wrong with the packaging. And when I put the code in for my account, it was already used. Yes. So I'm all excited to play this game. I'm installing it, creating my account, put the code in, and this account has already been used. So I go back to the store, I'm flipping out. They have no more copies. They return it. And I go to 15 stores over the next 2 days to try to find a copy. I find a copy and then that sealed the deal. And because of that, I'm pretty sure that I remember none of high school. I was killing dragons and getting J-boots and running around on a bard. So then something happened in school, but I'm pretty sure that was all that mattered. And then to fast forward, as funny as that sounds, from the launch of WoW. So, when you play an MMO and you get invested, you have friends and you make your character, and especially back then, the time you put into your characters, World of Warcraft was coming out, and I'm like, I'm not playing World of Warcraft. I'm not playing World of Warcraft. I've put so much time into this game. I have my characters. There's no way.
Exactly.
And one of my best friends was in beta. And I went over to his house and he said, hey, try it. I'm like, I'm not going to play it. I tried it. I fell in love with it. And I still sort of miss the fact that I didn't play more EQ, but so I jumped off and played WoW for about 14 years, and I just left whenever I decided to go full force into Pantheon. So in between, if you name an MMO not about Star Wars, I've probably played it anywhere from a week to months to a year. In the middle of playing WoW, I just really love MMOs, so I would jump back and forth to a lot. The one that stands out for me that I bring up, and sometimes people are like, yes, and other people are like, what are you talking about, is Secret World. So that was awesome game. I wish it had a bigger following because it was really cool. So
is that
cringing just a little bit,
right? Yeah.
It went free to play. Does that count? Is that the same thing as that?
Yeah, I would say if it was a subscription game that went free to play, that is certainly a sign of being put on life support.
And it was, yeah. I don't know if it's still around. I think it might still be out there free to play, but it is in rough shape.
I believe it is. And the funny thing is, I tried the Secret World when it was first released. Actually, I think it was an open beta. I ran into so many bugs that I actually got tired of typing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And right there, I was like, no, I'm done. And I've not been a fan of Funcom ever since.
So the one thing about that game, and for anyone who's ever played it, you have these quests that you had to look up on the internet within the game, but it was connected to the real internet. And it was using like the Illuminati crazy stuff. So you would go to some random web page you find written down somewhere, but you have to look at like the 8th word on that page and then scroll down to the bottom to the last word to get a password for something. And they were pages that were real, but then Secret World also put pages on the internet that weren't real that tied into the lore. And that was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I think at the time of playing, I was never really into that whole like Illuminati conspiracy kind of stuff. So I had a hard time getting into it. And after a couple of years when they went free to play, I played it again. And to me, it felt like crazy easy. I don't know what it is. Like, I think I rolled a healer type, or at least that's how I was spec'd, and I was like AEing and like entire zones worth of stuff. But Secret World has always been one of those games that I really regret not getting into.
Like you kind of said, there wasn't a ton of content. So, and the other thing too is the very first mission. I don't know if you probably remembered if you played a little bit, was zombie apocalypse in Boston, and you would fight packs of zombies that were huge because they fixed the health pools of them where it was like, in a normal MMO it'd be like 1 or 2 enemies, but it was like 8 instead. And it felt really cool. And then you go from this awesome zombie apocalypse level to fighting like sea creatures. And like every level after just wasn't as cool as that zombie level. It's like they put everything right at the front of the game.
Right.
I don't know what the development cycle was for that game, but it seemed pretty short at the time.
Yeah.
I think they were running out of funds, and I think that's why it felt so rushed after the first section. Because as you rightly say, they put a lot of the love into that section, and then nothing after that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really sad because I used to be a really big fan of Funcom.
Yeah.
But moving on. So we know you like fighters. We know you like MMOs. Are there any other games that you enjoy playing?
Your basic role playing games. I mean, what do you call them now? Sandbox role playing games. So like Fallout 4 was great. Borderlands 2, I played to the point where my wife almost threw me out of the house, if I'm honest. I think I had every rare weapon and was soloing stuff with crazy build outs. And then most recently, once I quit playing WoW, knowing how much time's in between this, so working on the project and trying to find time for myself, I've actually gotten really into Monster Hunter World. So my downtime, the little bit I have, I spend a lot of time in Monster Hunter World.
And
another title that I want to get into.
Yeah.
Have you ever played any of them?
I played the early ones. I'm even playing Dauntless, the free-to-play cartoony one.
Yep. So then, because the biggest problem I've always found with Monster Hunter is that if people don't know what they're getting into, it's the worst game at teaching you how to play. Like you'll play it like this is the dumbest thing ever. It's nearly impossible at first. So play with a friend.
Yeah, the learning curve is... I think I'd compare it close to like Elite Dangerous. It's one of those games where if I know someone that's going to get it, I tell them, bring a friend. Preferably one that's already played.
I mean, other than that, a lot of just anything. If a game has, I used to jokingly say, if they made a stick figure and I could kill stuff, get experience, level up, and increase my stats, I'll probably play it. As long as I can get progression of some sort.
Yeah. All right, brilliant. So we know what your first MMO was. But what have been your best and worst moments within an MMO?
Worst moment is kind of a good one, but I still feel bored of the day about it. In EverQuest, did you guys play EverQuest?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, right. So you know the ancient Cyclops. There was the one in Southern Row that you could just kill everything to try to get it to spawn, and there was one out in the Ocean of Tears on a small island. And it had one spawn point that spawned like 5 different enemies, and you might get the ancient Cyclops to get the J-Boots. Mm-hmm. So me and a buddy, I had 2 computers set up, so we played side by side in my bedroom. It's that long ago. And we decided we were going to start getting that camp. So I'd opened up, we were on the list, we're like, let's go. And it was probably a Friday night. We camped that spot in shifts where we took naps, and we camped it till Sunday night. And so it was one of those things like, okay, so we get a ring and we get it for the characters that are camping it. Like, since you're holding this camp, why don't you go bring one of your other characters here? Then we get a ring for that. Okay, let me go bring a character. And it got to the point where I was the annoying guy in East Commons Tunnel, right-clicking my J-Boots, because you would just click it in the bag so it feels faster, on my Bard. And people are like... why do you even have J-Boots on your Bard? Because I do. So that's one of those good and bad moments, sort of. I'd say, though, ultimately, the worst moment for me, it's just bittersweet. When I left for Pantheon, I had to leave my guild that I've been running for 2 years with some friends I've known for a lot longer than that. And it's been really good. And, BFA, I kept trying to tell myself it wasn't as bad as everyone was saying. And I still believe that it's not as bad as everyone was saying. But what happened is that because the toxic community was so bad, it made playing the game not fun. Mm-hmm. You couldn't escape it. You could be the most positive, optimistic person about the game. You could be having fun with your friends, but literally going into town, you're exposed to it. You go in forgetting to turn off general chat in a raid, you're exposed to it. You go check for something on a forum, on a website, you're exposed to it. And I think it just beat me down over time, which I hate to admit, but the fact that beat me, right? So, and knowing how much time I wanted to put into this and how excited I was for this, having to leave the guild was rough. I still talk to everybody, but it was sad.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough decision to make. It's not easy. So, you obviously, like you mentioned already, that you've basically committed to Pantheon full-time now, more or less. But when and where did you hear about it first?
I've been thinking about that. It was probably near like September of last year. So it hasn't been incredibly long. September of last year, I stumbled. So have you guys ever been really bored and you were so bored you typed in the Google window like, I am bored? Just to see.
I do that every Friday while we're doing the show.
I do that every day.
So I was just so bored the one day, like I didn't want feeling it, and so I'm like, you know what? Most anticipated MMOs, and Pantheon was like probably on this one page I found. I don't remember what it was. It's probably like 10th on the list, but I'm just looking through. It's like, all right, Korean MMO. Wait, what's this? And I saw Brad's name. And I was just like, oh, and I just kept reading, came across videos from Basgrim was the first person I actually saw a video from. And then I started watching the streams. Then I saw you guys and a bunch of other people. So I started watching all the streams, and I just, one of the things that I've loved about WoW, I've been fortunate, right? So the people who really hate WoW are usually solo players or play in small groups. The people who hold on to WoW are the people that are in a great guild. That game, it's very funny to me, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than Blizzard, but it's very funny to me that it's 100%. If you're in a great guild, you enjoy an MMO for the most part, right? 100%. And if you're in a really bad guild or you're not in a guild, you stop playing. And I just never have understood why MMOs don't further progress what it means to be in a guild with better guild management, better guild achievements, things that benefit you to being in a guild. Like to help support a guild leader who's already pulling their hair out. Like, see, that this is from being a guild leader. It should be really cool to have some kind of help. And when guilds are strong and when the guild culture is strong, the game's strong. And I just, I don't know. I saw downtime, which is funny because I think a lot of people complain about it. And I said, yes, we can talk. In WoW right now, the culture they've created is if you talk, you're losing DPS, shut up, tank, and go. But you don't have mana. I don't care. That's your fault. Oh. Just go, M+. Everybody thinks they're competitive, right? So that's another thing. They've turned the game into an esport. But the funny part is there's no sport because nobody's actually able to compete with things like method and limit. You're just not. I've watched people complain that they got to go in first or our servers, come on, you're not beating them. You're just not. If you're 10th, you're light years behind because of how good those few guilds are. And I think the fact that, you look at these Mythic Pluses, everything's a competition. Everything's about you. Pantheon, the pacing to me, you're going to go into a dungeon and sit there and you're going to talk. And I know that sounds crazy, but you're going to talk to each other. And that's amazing.
I just can't wait for the first set of WoW players to try and go in there and start trying to take down the first mob within a few seconds.
Rush through the dungeon in minutes.
I'm
no communication.
Going to be positive for a change here. I'm going to say that of all the WoW players that are going to try Pantheon, because there's going to be quite a few, we are going to get some really good community members. We're going to get a lot of bad ones, but we're going to get some pretty good ones too. I can't wait to see the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. But I also can't wait to I hope they take what you say to heart as well, but Manus, in the sense that they build great guild communities within the game, because
basically put the importance back where it belongs. Exactly,
because if you make everything for single players, then you'll definitely never have a community. So
what's the point in playing an MMO when you're just running around by yourself?
Exactly.
So after you basically read up on Pantheon and everything, learning about it, what was your initial reaction?
I was just excited. So I think I did what a lot of people first see it. Oh, when's it coming out? Just, Pantheon release date. And I'm like, wait, that says 2018. It's 2000. Oh, this is old. So then you just had to start jumping into communities. At that point, I just really wanted to consume more and more info about it. And so my team is people from my WoW guild. It's my co-leader came with me. So this hurt too when I left. My co-leader came with me and my main officer came with me. And our goal is, we know that most of that guild is not wanting to wait and do nothing while we're doing content and we're building back ends of the website and doing all this different stuff in the community. We know that not everybody really wants to do that. They just want to play. So our hope and dream is that when the game hits, we'll be able to pull them in and, have some people, but I don't think I want to run a guild anymore. Just want to kind of be a part of something instead of having to run it. But so just digging in, massively consuming information as instantly what I started doing.
Cool.
Yeah. So we already know that you knew who Brad was, before you found out about Pantheon. But I'm curious to know if Brad wasn't attached to Pantheon, would you still be as excited as you are today?
That's an interesting question because you wonder if Brad wasn't attached to Pantheon, would he be making the EverQuest references?
Would you still be as excited about Pantheon today if Brad wasn't a part of it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So the game that is now, it's hard. Right. So if you say that Brad wasn't a part of it, is it still going to have a ton of the EverQuest talk? Like how many people that talk about this game say this is like the next good EverQuest? It's its own thing. Even when you level up and you hear that sound, would I hear that sound still? So I think Brad is awesome. And I like Brad, but it was the fact that it was harking back to the times of EverQuest that I think were what drove me most. And having Brad there not only was saying, hey, we're going to go back to this style that's been dead, we also happen to have the father of it as well. So it made that theory and vision very credible. If Brad wasn't there, but they still had the same vision and the same theory, then yeah, I'd probably still be into it. But I think Brad being in it made me want to jump in more.
He kind of pulls in the nostalgia that's really got you hooked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you first started reading about Pantheon, I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts were on the entire project.
Oh, nice. Let me fix it. Some people are saying I'm breaking up, so let me fix that real quick. Sorry about that, everybody. This should help. Okay, so hopefully that will stop me from breaking up there. Does that sound a little bit clearer to anybody? All right.
Yep.
Sorry about that, guys. Awesome. Okay. So I apologize if you can repeat that one more time.
Okay. Yeah. So after your first time discovering and kind of reading a little bit about Pantheon, what were your first thoughts on the project as a whole?
That's a good question, actually, because as soon as I saw it, I was really excited. I'm not somebody who gets turned off by graphics. In pre-show, we were kind of talking about, and we did here too, Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter before World was probably the worst looking game I've ever seen for years and years and years. They never updated it. It looked like a PS1 game forever, but the gameplay was phenomenal. So I played them all. So for me, there is the side of me that's like the transmog. I have to look super cool. So from a graphics perspective, that's cool. But it's weird. I think a lot of people would say they'd look at it and say, at the very early beta videos, not now, but like at first, wow, the graphics, they look a little stiff. None of that mattered to me because it was all about the gameplay. So it's, I don't know. When I first saw it, I wanted more. Like I kind of said, I know I'm kind of getting repetitive there, but I wanted to see more videos. I wanted to see how things played. I mean, in every video I was watching people die like crazy. And I was like, oh man, corpse runs. And, and a lot of people would be turned off by that. But legitimately, I don't know. Everything about it made me really impressed that, I think we all have great memories, right? I said we play, like I played Final Fantasy VII. In my head, that game is like Xbox 360 or better graphics, right? Because in my head, like I'm making it seem, and then you play it and you're like, my character is a triangle.
Yeah.
So thinking back to EverQuest in my head, it's beautiful, right? Everything was just so vivid. So it's really the play style that drove it, and class identity. It looks really good. I really hope they stay with that and can, a warrior's a warrior. That's it. A warrior's not a paladin. I really like the class identity and the roles so far.
Cool.
So what do you think is the big difference between Pantheon and all those other MMOs that really grabs you?
Well, I don't want to say this in a negative way, but it's going to have a smaller base. I don't say that because I don't want Visionary Realms to make a lot of money. I'd love for them to make a lot of money.
Smaller is sometimes better.
And also costs are always lower as well these days. So I'm sure they'll make their money even with a lower base. So
In the fact that, and this is where I would really challenge VR. They have a vision, and they need to go with that vision. And I love gaming, but I never helped design any of those games that I said are my favorites of all time. When I have vivid memories of the games I loved, I wasn't sitting in a chat room telling them what I wanted. They made a game that was in their head, and they made it for everyone, and I loved it. So I don't want them to listen to what I want. I want them to design the game they want, and I want them to be able to control it and to make it always what they want, even when people complain. So if that small community means that, number one, in WoW, you can be toxic and it doesn't matter because you just hit Raid Finder or you jump into a random group. I want the community to police itself. I want the community to be able to know if someone goes in and they're toxic and they're causing raid wipes and dungeon wipes, that person's going to get known really quick in a small community. And I really hope that happens because I want to see the players who go above and beyond, that great healer who comes in and saves the day for a group that needs it, a higher level person that goes and buffs in a lower level zone. I want that person to be known. And I want someone in the world of Pantheon to be known for being good, Right now, if you name all the most popular people in Warcraft, they're known for being trolls. They might also be really good, but they're also trolls or they're super egotistical. I want to see Pantheon with a smaller community with the vision of VR actually drive heroes. And if the game's this hard, you're actually going to have heroes out of players, and that's really cool to me.
Yeah. See, I tell some of, well, they're gamer friends of mine, but they're not old school. And I mean old school, like they started gaming in 2010. When it comes to an MMO, the only currency that should really matter is your reputation. It's just the way it is, because you might not be the best at a class, but if your reputation is being a great person to be around, your value is still there. If you're a really, even if you say, like, sometimes I have a bad day, my personality is just, but maybe I'm ultra focused as a tank. Well, if that's what they need, my value is still there. But if I'm a gigantic donkey, to put it PG, then
well, you kind of
that devalues myself.
You kind of deflunked the show as PG already, anyway. So,
hey,
I think you can have one.
I did not, because you know what? That's not always a swear word. It's also the nickname for someone named Richard.
That is true.
It is. Got followed up with a Tracy after.
Yep.
So, touching on races going forward, what are you likely to play in Pantheon?
Okay, so I'll ask you guys if you're on par with me here. So, likely to play, I am in the 100% assumption that we're going to have a Bard at launch. You guys agree?
I'd love for there to be one.
I would enjoy it as well. So I'm going to say yes.
I feel like the little bit of hints dropped by Japa in some of the streams and some of the stuff they've said, and the fact that there's only one pure, as they're calling it, CC class. I'm going to pretend that that's going to be a possibility. And if that is a possibility, I'll be playing a halfling to play a Bard.
You heard that wild rumor here, folks.
There's basically a tendency with VR. They only put out information when they are very sure that they can pull something off. Deliver, yeah. So you can. I agree with you. 99%. I'll say 99% that it will definitely be there.
99% of the time, it works every time.
Exactly.
And you know what? Never be ashamed of playing a halfling, especially as a bard.
Heck
because I like fast food.
You got to catch me, bro. You got to catch me.
I will find a way. Don't you worry. I will find a way.
Yeah, okay. So let's say it's in and you're going to grab that up front. Looking at Pantheon as a whole, which race has caught your eye the most so far?
So this is what's funny. If there is no bard, my backup is an enchanter. And there's part of me, I really want to play a bard, so this is really conflicting for myself. I really, really want to play a bard, but if for some reason bard doesn't come out at launch, I don't know that I'm going to want to play a character, then go back and start over, especially in a game that might be a little harder to level. So I want to play support, so I would be an enchanter, and I am all in on the gnomes and the lore that the mystery behind them right now, the fact that they've completely reinvented the gnome. They look really cool. I may have just missed this. Maybe it was on a stream. Do we know if there's male and female gnomes? Or is there just...
want to say...
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, right? So...
I feel like there is.
I'm not interested in being a battery, so...
Well, if I'm support, I gotta be a mana battery.
Right.
Well, don't forget they are enclosed with this mystical cloth. So there are definitely ways to pull off the male and female aspect of that, and I'm pretty sure that they will have male and female. They were originally of a humanoid life form before they became that entity, so I'm pretty sure you'll have male and female characteristics looking like those. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think the males will have their glow sticks and the...
Nice.
So yeah, which races do you dislike the most, though, that you've seen so far?
All right, so another fact here. I am definitely 100%. I'm admitting it right now. I always 100% of the time play female characters. Always. I play MMOs way too much. I don't want to dress a guy up. I'd rather dress a girl up. So I play female characters. So there is no chance whatsoever that I'll play an ogre because the looks of the character matter a lot.
I could understand that.
Me too.
Now, that said, sometimes when playing, if I'm a warrior or a heavy plate thing, being a large...
Never fear, the thing is here.
Being a very large class is really cool with like the armor being bigger, but I don't think this game's gonna exaggerate the armor like we've seen in a lot of MMOs recently. So I don't know if that'll really matter. So I don't see ogre. I don't know if I'd ever make one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care about racial abilities at all. That doesn't matter to me. If there's racial stats that are super like so important to the class, I'll consider it. But it's definitely not a major thing.
Okay. Actually, an interesting answer to this next question. So, if you look at the way races have been portrayed now in current MMOs, past and present, do you think it really matters which race you pick and play?
Yeah. I mean, are you asking me, does it matter to me, or do I think that the MMOs have made it?
It's towards the MMOs, basically, the way they've been portrayed.
It's interesting. So as a strictly PvE person who doesn't believe in... like, I'm not the greatest player in the world. Like, I'm not a mythic. I wasn't a mythic pusher in WoW. You know, for my class, I would try to perform in like the top 25%, top 10% if I was lucky, right? So that was cool for me. I'm not a min-maxer, though. I'm not going to go... recently, Method, to get their first kill, they had to change all their races to troll. Which is just ridiculous to me, right? I mean, do what you got to do, I guess. But... when stuff like that is the case and you're only being it for the racial, some people say the racials give it class identity. I don't believe that at all. I think that what gives it class identity is how they interact in the world. So in WoW, you lost it because you had Horde and you had Alliance and everybody was friends if you were in the same faction. For me, you know, I should have probably made this as one of my most happy memories of EverQuest, but I had a monk, Ixar. And for anyone who hasn't played EverQuest, it might be in chat. XRs were the evil of evil. I don't know why. People just really treated them bad, right?
XRs!
But, so everyone hated them. You had to go so anytime you had to go back to town, you had to go all the way back to your town. So I said, heck with that. And I used a bug in the game with the sneak mechanic to turn in a quest. And you could turn in rat pelts in Freeport. And I turned in probably thousands of rat pelts. And once I got enough faction to kill them, I was able to kill orcs and turn in beads, I think, that they dropped. And over the course of months and months and months and months, I was able to fully walk through all of Freeport and train at the Monk Guild as an Ixar. And that was like super cool. And everyone that would walk by me was like, what's he doing?
Yeah, that would be kind of cool to have like your race defined by your actions. You know, you have you'll have your basic identity, your background lore, you'll have your typical traits and abilities that are, you know, focused on your racial aspect, but how you play your character should be up to you. How you want to, you know, be perceived in the world, how you want to play in the world. So you want to be this good ogre instead of this bad ogre. You want to be this really friendly Scar instead of this nasty Scar, you know. And that would be pretty cool to have a mix up there and actually have it also impact the way you're taken by your, you know, your own race, your original race. If you're playing a Scar and you're a goody two shoes, that might have an impact on you as well. That'd be pretty cool to see something like that when, if they could go in that direction. So, on races again, what would you prefer? That each race has its own starting city, or one main city where all start together?
Can I cheat that question and say some of this, some of that? You know,
well, explain then.
Yeah, so you know, for some of the pure good races that you kind of just know would align, you know, let's say humans, I could never see them really fighting halflings, for example. You know, you could see them living in close proximity, but at the same time, like halflings have their own world, so I guess that doesn't make sense. But you could, I wouldn't have a problem with having a city that housed a couple races as like a neutral site, or being able to pick between them, like you could in EverQuest. Like as a human, you could start in Quenos or you could start in Freeport. So having a couple different choices due to the lore of the game would be okay. Now in this game, they're all about all these beings have come from other worlds, so to speak. So maybe in Pantheon, it would be really cool to have their own each starting city. And I think the one really big positive would be the journey. I don't know if you guys all have a memory in your head of the big journey to get to your friends.
Oh yes,
So,
I will never forget that nightmare.
I was saying the other night, remember getting on a boat in Butcher Block? And like, it was amazing the first time. You were on it for hours, it seemed like, but it was amazing. This world's so big. I've been on this boat for a real day. So I think having the exploration, everybody wants to be able to log on with their friend and play right away. So I get it. But again, it's their game. So if you really want to log on and play with your friend right away, find two things that can be the same race and play together until you can get to the rest of your.
Yeah, exactly. So what classes are you typically drawn to?
I play pretty much whatever my guild's needed, and if I'm not going to run a guild, I guess I can probably narrow that down a bit more. I like to be in control. I like to be in control of the raid or a dungeon, so I always like to tank. But to be honest with you, I miss there not being a true support class. So the fact that there is a support class now lets me stand back and kind of have a vision of what's going on and be able to kind of control it that way. I'm really drawn to that. Of course, not many games have the support class, but right now I'm 100% going to go with that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I'm very keen to play some of the support classes simply because they're fresh compared to the triumvirate that they've had for so long.
Yeah, they've definitely added that flair, that interest. I've only ever played tanks or healer classes, but Pantheon's definitely sparked my interest to go out and try, the mage classes and the melee DPS classes as well, to expand on that area.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, for Pantheon, my alt will probably be a tank. If I have one, when I have one. Support and tank. I usually only play DPS if everything else is already taken and we're good, and it's like, all right, I guess I'll play DPS. It's not my
It's kind of funny that we're actually kind of opposite. You're going to main support, alt tank. I'm going to main a tank and alt a support. and bard.
You have to. Well, you only have two choices.
Josh, you know what he's doing there, right? He's kind of setting himself up for the final question.
I don't have to. I already know I won't. Because you know why? When we went live, I was the only one that supported Minus by wearing a hat. You other guys, you didn't support him at all, so you can just take a long walk off a short pier.
Hey, I can put my helmet on if you want.
You need a helmet, trust me.
Well, Lady Solitude is yelling at me like she did. She's telling me to take the hat off again.
Was she yelling at you or was she yelling at me?
Probably all.
She's yelling at Manus. So what class do you plan to start with at launch then? If the bard isn't there?
Enchanter.
Enchanter. Yeah, good. Definitely. We had that one.
Always a good choice.
If you had to create a new class, what would it be and how would it stand out?
Ooh.
Theorycraft to the max.
So people are going to really hate me for this one.
A new segment to our show.
Has any of you played Blade and Soul?
Yes.
Okay. I am not saying this because I think Blade and Soul was an awesome game. There was a class in that game, and yes, it was sort of broken, and yes, it may have been referred to as the girlfriend class, but I loved it. And if you mastered it, it played unlike anything I've ever played, which was the Summoner. And the reason it played like anything I've ever played is because, yes, it was a pet class, and I know people typically pet classes, but your control of the pet was equal to the control of your character. And you literally had to use the attacks for your pet and position and callback to like, you know, send at, call back, do different attacks, do different abilities, and you could CC and control really strong with the pet while you just laid tons of damage out with the actual character. That was the best incarnation of a pet class I've ever seen, because as easy as it was to be good, being great took so much coordination, and it paid off really well. So I'd love to see a pet class that's not just about send your pet in and get free damage. I'd like to see a pet class where you really, really had to manage it. And I'll go one step further. I always joke they should make a hunter that could tank. And I would absolutely love to see a pet class where you're a tank and your pet can be used to take threat for big attacks, and maybe it's split between you, and you could actually swap between you and your pet with who is actually doing the fighting to actually use it as a mechanic. I think that'd be incredible if they could ever pull that off.
Nice.
That does sound like it would be something I would try.
Just very different. Right now, again, it could be OP.
It's like evasion, but all you're doing is you're balancing the incoming damage between you and your pet, which would be very skill. I mean, at least has the potential to be very skill based.
If that pet has like a cooldown, right? So a big attack comes, the pet taunts and takes over the fight. You pop that cooldown for your pet. It takes the big shot. You time back.
Yeah, and you have maybe abilities that would like heal the pet while you generate threat or something. I mean, there's 100 different ways you could do it, but still, it's very interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah, very cool.
Now, I'm going to ask you to be very, very cautious about answering this next one.
I'm not good at that. I usually get in trouble.
Which class do you dislike the most?
So we haven't done our full class guides for all of them yet. But I will openly tell you that this is going to get me in trouble. I do not like the druid. Now, I like the druid from a class fantasy perspective. People who like druids are going to love that class because of how much it interacts with the environment and all this stuff. I don't like a healer that doesn't even have a single target heal spell, like a real heal. They just have an AoE heal from what we've seen so far and like some hots and stuff. And then you're throwing this pet in there for some reason. It's cool that it has a pet. It's better than the shaman pet. The shaman pet, I don't even understand why it exists. So there's some cool mechanics with the druid, but I don't like the healing style. When I heal, I'm so generic. I'm a cleric. If I'm going to heal, I'm the holy priest in WoW. I'm a cleric. I just want to cast small heal or quick heal or big heal and do a couple little fancy things in between and just keep going target to target. So the druid looks off-putting to me, but I'm sure it'll be a great class.
Yeah, a lot of balancing probably still has to go into the game, so we'll see.
Yeah. So let's move on to some lore. Which of the racial lore has been your favorite so far, and why?
I'm gonna go back to Gnome. Just the fact that they're leaving it so open that if you are someone who loves lore, I'd want to play a Gnome just to go through the storyline, just to see who I'm going to interact with, to learn more about why are we like this, what happened, what were we. Gnome is, it'd be interesting if they had that class and just called it a, letters or an archive, So if they made up a name and that was what it was, cool. But they called it a Gnome. And there's no gnomes like that. So it's such a reinvention. It's not just a reinvention of something like, humans looking different or, some random class or race you haven't seen in a while. They literally took one of the most common D&D themed races and they flipped it on its head. And I just love that.
Cool.
Very cool. Very cool. So how important is lore to you in a game? Something you get into?
Yeah, so yes and no. I have been known to accept a quest and then run away without really reading anything that quest giver has said to me. But I will definitely give props to WoW on things like the Jaina story that recently came out, the Sylvanas stuff. As much as people want to knock BFA, some of the scenes in that were some of the most emotional scenes I've ever been through in gaming. And the way they told them with the cinematics was incredible. And it made me want to read the lore more because they backed it with the cinematics instead of just reading and reading and reading and reading. So I would say that the lore is important to me. And I think it's a great question, because I think that all the MMOs that have, and we know Pantheon's not trying to beat WoW or be WoW, but all the ones that have come out to try to compete, they don't have this backlog of lore. When WoW came out, they already had Warcraft, 1, 2, and 3. And they had all these amazing characters that people identified with, and you were waiting in World of Warcraft to see how they would talk about it. World of Warcraft got to work from ahead and just build to it. And MMOs that are built now have to build from day one up, and it's difficult to do. Yeah. So it's hard for a game to get you into the lore. So I'm interested to see how they can do it. But if I can't get into the lore, it's the play style still going to be bigger for me.
Oh, good answer. Yeah. So should lore impact the game playability? In other words, a story arc that guides the PCs forward towards the end game. Do you think something like that should exist?
It doesn't hurt. And I think I kind of touched on, just like we said, on the whole WoW story with Jaina and building it up to the raids eventually. That lore carried through the entire expansion so far. And it kind of gave this big picture of where we were heading. When we talk raids, so, Black Rose Keep, for example, in Pantheon. I think the best way I could put it is I want to go do that raid. And that, go into the different sections and this and that. And I guess you call it a dungeon. But I want to go do that. If I am in there and I've led up to that with some pretty good storytelling and I understand what's going on, and I walk into a room and I'm like, oh, this is that thing they were talking about, that's really cool. So it's that kind of thing I'm more interested in. If I'm going to go, I don't mind so much when I'm running around the world just picking up quests. But if for any reason I'm going to a raid, which is like an epic encounter, and I have some lore that helps me understand that epic encounter, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I must admit, you go into a raid zone and you don't understand what these bosses are here for, what they do to go with whatever story flow they're trying to go for, really knocks you out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Now, I gotta ask, do you think that the Pantheon lore should try to branch out outside of the game, like maybe novels or comics? A movie might be pushing it a little, but I mean, you never know.
A little bit, right?
They got the title for it.
So I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna use a generic answer sort of here, but I think it fits. I don't want them to do anything that's gonna take away from what the in-game experience is. The team's not big enough right now. The game's not out. Putting time into lore for a book, because if a book's going to be made, it also has to be certified, right? Yeah. So if a book's going to be made and it has to be called Pantheon and it's Rise of the Fallen, then in my opinion, it's going to take them time to read and check that and make sure it's accurate to their vision. I'd rather see it put into the game now. If we're 3 expansions in and this is a huge success, then by all means, let's get some stuff out there. I'll want to buy all kinds of stuff. Get me some shirts, get me some books, put me out an animated series, whatever you want to do, I'll be in. But at the beginning here, no, I would say stay away from it until the lore is good enough to write on and it's not all just being made up. And then if they're making up a ton of lore and we don't get to see it in game and there's not a lot of lore in game, then we're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense.
What about having like maybe little comics or something, or little books that hint
like a novella,
that kind of hints at what is coming in game, maybe.
Yeah, if they're gonna do so, if an expansion's coming out and they want to do some sort of build-up event and they do it with lore on the Pantheon site or on their YouTube channel or stuff like that, that's fine. I still, if you're gonna put it on a YouTube channel and it's a playable video, why can't there be a book you pick up in the game and it cuts into that cutscene?
Yeah.
Like if it's on the website, if it's on whatever media they're doing, why can't it be in game to access? We've seen World of Warcraft not just do cinematics, but do animated still frame as well. So just do the animated still frame in the game.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to know the answer to this one, because I'm pretty sure everyone feels pretty much the same way here. Do you think that the racial lore should advance over time?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's some kind of huge expansion or moment in the game where 2 races have to decide on what they're going to do and they have varying opinions, I think it should change the future of an expansion that comes out. Again, it all stems to make your game VR. I would love it if a company was brash enough and confident enough to do something where you're playing a halfling and you're good and you're great, and something big happens and you log in the next day and you're not so good anymore. And what they could do is they could have a optional quest line to get your reputation back and step away. But I mean, how amazing would that be? Okay, so those halflings, we're all mad because we can't go to the human city anymore. But man, like, what does that say about the world?
Yeah,
exactly. Just a branching question on that. If they had to release in new expansions different variants of, for instance, the gnome race itself, so maybe you got frost gnomes or something along those lines to just expand the race in general, is that something you'd like to see?
Yeah, I actually would, and I think it uses a lot less resources, and it's exciting still. And I don't even care. So here would be something interesting. Let's say the humans that look just like humans split into whatever society the humans want to call themselves, and then a rogue group that goes out and they're an evil group of humans, and they look exactly the same, maybe except for some small environmental changes or something. But I don't even care if it's the same thing. If now I can make a human that can start in the ogre city and they're aligned because that has happened, or I can go ahead and start regular. So I wouldn't even mind if they don't even reskin them, but now there's an extra branch of gnome or human.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
So let's go jump into
we need in the chat down there. You said it. We need half elf, please. Half elf Bard.
Let's move on to some mechanics then. So in most MMOs, movement seems to aggravate people a lot, and it can kind of put people off towards the games. How important is the movement mechanic to you?
So I'll give you a good story that'll sum that up. So I played EverQuest mainly, and we met in Blade and Soul, and I gave him hey, I have 2 WoW accounts, come try it. Nah, I don't want to play it. Graphics are horrible. It's the same old, same old. So just try it. It's free. So he played it, and we were hooked, and it was right before the launch of Legion. And so we're playing it, and we both want to be tanks. We talk about starting this guild, and we're both going to be tanks, and right away he jumps in. I'm going to be a demon hunter because that's the new class. That's the cool thing. And everyone knows demon hunters just zip everywhere. So we're doing older content. I'm just trying to catch him up to the lore and stuff like that. And I am playing a Death Knight because I'm like, well, I'm going to be a Death Knight tank. And I can't kill anything. I literally can't even get to enemies to kill them because he's so far ahead of me and things don't have much health, and we're going through these dungeons and he's killing them before I can even get to him. And what's funny is I'll tie that into Diablo 3. It's same things going on right now. He's playing a monk and he just teleports through and kills everything instantaneously while I'm this necromancer in the back trying to get corpses and kill things. So I hate being slow. If I had to put it that way, I would rather be able to move quickly, or can we not have a huge gap where I literally can't keep up to play the game?
Yeah.
But luckily, like you kind of said, no one's going to go into a dungeon and just start running ahead in this game. So maybe that's going to answer it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see people try, though. That'll be very funny.
Yep.
Can you imagine the stream? Oh, we should have like a Pantheon Fails YouTube channel.
I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that will happen.
Video 1 will be me in Hallender's Cave running all the way to the back and then all the way to the front. High level.
And just for old time's sake, can you just yell "train to Upper Guck" as you're coming through?
I will.
To see if
I will.
So, how do the world mechanics of Pantheon look to you so far at this stage? With everything you've seen from the streams, be it the acclamation system, perception, etc., how is that looking to you currently? Are you happy with it?
So we haven't, in my opinion, when you read through what they're trying to accomplish, we've actually not seen much of it. I think, is that fair to say? When they talk about all the weather things, we haven't seen any of that. If you look at warriors' abilities, they have a battering ram skill that can break through environments. We haven't seen any of that from my knowledge. So there is a lot, it seems to be hidden in the environmental details that they're going to have. But hearing about it being cold and losing health or stam because it's cold, depending on what's going on, and maybe needing gear to help with that is incredible to me. The fact that, I knocked on druids not being my favorite class, but the effects that they have, during a storm is ridiculous. That's super cool. So environmentally, I'm actually really excited about the game. But I think that we haven't seen a lot of it. We've just heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
Can you imagine, though, we were talking about this, could you imagine if you're a warrior, right? And let's throw out the whole, well, if you don't have a warrior in your group, you can't do it, because I don't think this game cares about that. But let's say you go do a dungeon, a low-level dungeon, it's like level 15 or something, and the battering ram ability is actually based off your strength, they're saying. So your gear level may not be strong enough to get through something. But they've also talked, like in the Black Rose Keep, for example, that there's different sections of different levels. You have different leveling groups within there. So imagine you do a level 15 dungeon, you go in and there's a wall or an area you can't break through. There's not a warrior around. You come back 20 levels later because you're strong now, because of your gear, you break through there. Now you've accessed a new part of the dungeon that's for higher level. That's so cool. Now, I get it. Only a warrior can do that right now. Maybe there's going to be items that can do it. But that's a really cool thought process to make you go back and experience the world again.
Yeah. Whereas a gnome could just strip naked and go through the cracks of the wall.
Yeah, because they're just energy, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
They open the door and they're like, give me my clothes back, please.
Oh, did. So, the current mechanics, do you feel that they're going to enhance Pantheon in the long run, or limit Pantheon? How do you see them working together, ultimately? You've given us one example. So,
like the environmental stuff?
Perception system, the weather system, environmental system, are those type of things something that are going to be detrimental to Pantheon? Because people might get bored of them. How do you see them?
Perception is going to be interesting, because the first time you do it, it's going to be really cool, but it's going to have a quick fall off if they don't do something right with it. So they've shown when you're walking through the the caves, when you're walking through, they look and they see the symbol come up, and they go around to the side of a fallen pillar, and they find a key there. That's really cool for the first time, but if it doesn't advance itself or find a way to reinvent itself often, it might be really cool for leveling, depending on how much it's going to be used while you're leveling and going through your classes. But I don't see a replay value with perception, at least the way that I've seen it so far.
Yeah.
Environmental detail, though, awesome. I'm not opposed to carrying around different sets of gear for different things. I think it gives you a reason to collect more gear. I think one of the reasons that an MMO is boring is because everyone tells you this is the gear you put on and you're done. So if I have to go fight in a frost area and I can wear frost resistance gear that's going to help me in that area, I'll carry that with me to that experience that we're going to do. If we plan that night, this is where we're going. And I think that the environmental stuff is, I would say, while perception is, let's see what happens, but I'm a little worried about the replayability. And then let's go with environmental, where I think that's just, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I think it's a good call on that. I totally agree. So let's move into something a little bit more relaxing, and that's trade skilling. How do you view crafting in MMOs? And do you make use of it or not?
So, sorry to keep talking about WoW. It's what's on my mind for 14 years.
Wow.
So, in earlier WoW, they made it so that if you capped out a profession, that you had a stat increase. I remember playing a warrior back in the day, and I think I got a base stam increase or armor increase for being a blacksmith. So I would do it just for that. I wouldn't do it for gear. I wouldn't do it for making money. So I would say ultimately I'm not very into crafting now. That said, and I might sound a little braggadocious here, but this is just explaining it. When BFA launched, I don't know what thing I'm just going to be a blacksmith. And everyone's like, you never make any money with blacksmith. So I just decided to push it real hard, and I decided to play really hard when that hit. And until the first raid tier, which was... until Mythic raid tier, which was 4-6 weeks, something like that after launch. I was actually I would go back and forth daily as the first overall gear score warrior on Proudmoore on our server. So it was really cool because I wasn't competing with Mythic people. I was just what I could do in the game. And I jumped into Blacksmith, and it was ridiculous. People were buying these horrible weapons I would make for money that was ungodly. And I'm like, why have I never been doing this before? So it was really cool. And then the Mythic raids hit, and then I just stopped. I literally never did it again. But it was neat to experience that first rush. I would tell you, though, if I had my choice and I didn't need to, I probably would never do a profession. I'm a dungeon grinder. If you guys have been in guild, so imagine saying to yourself, oh, I really have to run this dungeon again. I'll go. You need a tank? I will run the same dungeon for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours straight. And I will never get bored from the first pull to the last pull. I love running dungeons, and I found that for whatever reason, MMOs just don't want to give me money when I just run dungeons. So I'm always broke. But being a tank, people help me out because I'm always running dungeons. So
yeah, that seems to be the MO for tanks.
Right?
I love doing this, but I'm broke. Oh, here, have some of the junk loot that we picked up.
I will totally strip down and dance on this mailbox if that's what it's going to take.
Yep. Yep. I'm not going to argue with that one. So if you had to pick a trade skill to be in the game, what would you choose?
All right, I'll go off kilter here a bit. So I want to play a bard, and bards are about charisma, same as enchanters. Mm-hmm. Let's have some kind of speechcraft profession where you can influence NPCs, maybe events, since they're doing the perception system. Maybe you will have a higher ability to affect the perception system. Let's make something where you're interacting with the world increases your overall character's ability to communicate, whether it's through languages, influence, convincing, tricking. Let's have an actual profession based around that could earn you money by selling and buying. Give me something like that, and I'd be into it.
Like diplomacy or something like that.
Yeah, perfect. Much better way of putting it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, excellent.
You know, maybe you get faction increase. You can affect your faction increases. Maybe when you're in a party, you could put something down to give the group more faction increase.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Vanguard diplomacy system. Now, I've only played very limited Vanguard because I started when it was shutting down, but that's just what it reminds me of.
You couldn't keep playing after that?
Well, I got to the Vanguard party late. Yeah. Because I was a real heavy raider at the time, and it turned out that when I played, it was only like a week, maybe 2, until they shut it down.
Yeah, see, I was opposite. I played day 1, and my PC at the time just wasn't having it. And I played it for about a week, and I could not get the game to stop crashing and having fatal errors and such, and I'd actually return it. It's one of the few games I didn't play it at all because I couldn't run it at the time when it came.
Yeah. And I think at the time I also had a very large grudge against SOE.
Don't we have?
I know what you're thinking, Lex. With a grudge? No. I'm moving on.
Such an easygoing guy.
I know, right? I'm everybody's friend.
Especially on YouTube.
Please. Not even going to go there because it's not worth it. Not worth it. The effort my lungs would need to push out the words. But in current MMOs, everything really kind of feels one-dimensional. You know, this goes probably doubly so for crafting, at least in my opinion. What do you think could be done to maybe shake up the whole crafting system in Pantheon?
Okay, so I actually got into a big debate about this, and it would actually change the entire game. So actually change MMOs in general. And so here's what I would do. Right now in MMOs, you go fight a ice giant, and he drops a weapon for you, which I don't understand why he's carrying that weapon. And number 2, why does he have a cloth piece of armor, a mail piece of armor, and a plate piece of armor? What is this giant owning all this stuff? So right now, your interaction with the world is to go kill something and take their stuff. What if it was more like Monster Hunter? What if every creature in the world dropped some sort of material from a rarity level low to a rarity level high? And you got items by either crafting them or still getting them as a drop. But it would be, so you may go kill something and it only drops a dagger. And that's it. And that dagger's okay, but now you go collect all these pieces from around the world and you enhance that dagger. So now you have a relationship with your gear, and you can branch the gear into different elements and different damage. Sort of like, again, if anyone's ever played Monster Hunter World, it would make sense. But what if instead of going and collecting the gear physically, we're finding the gear physically, or we're crafting the gear physically, and there's going to be specific areas to go to get certain pieces. but the end game is getting raid bosses to drop their rare material for you so that you can go back and put it into your gear to enhance it into something new. I would love that, and it creates, so think about this. I had an FBSS. How much did we all love the FBSS? The Fungi Tunic, J-Boots, Mesa Shattered Souls. I actually made a Shadow Knight just to have that at Moss. There was really cool items in EverQuest that were neat, but the game outpaced them. What if you had a Fungi Tunic and then an expansion came out and this new pieces and parts came out so you could still keep that Fungi Tunic and evolve it into the next one? Yeah, that would be awesome. And it would also be, in my opinion, a lot easier for the devs.
You're preaching, man. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny that you said it because it sounds like there's a lot of people in the Pantheon community that are kind of riding that same wave. We even did a show that was very similar to it. I mean, you went way more in depth, and we tried to keep it general, but it was pretty close to that, where they would drop, say, just a breastplate, but that's the component. It's not necessarily gear, you know. And I think maybe not Pantheon, but some MMO has to do that, just to at least try it. Because I would be on board from day one.
It keeps
I'm not a crafter.
It keeps everything interesting as well. And and if you think about it, crafting is going to be very important to Pantheon and to the adventurer as well. So it kind of makes a really unique, good combination to try out something like that. Maybe not in the full-blooded flesh that you described it, but in some form or fashion to try out with some elements of the game, like your epic gear, for instance. You know, if I go and get my epic piece, for instance, out of the game, the core game, and then 2 years later an expansion comes out, they can add in another epic piece to it. Why does it have to be Epic 2.0? Why can't it be in addition to the epic? So in 15 years' time or 20 years' time, I could end up having a full set of epic gear that I've advanced and upgraded over the years to come, making me be that ultimate hero. And you know, people will look at me and go, hey, this guy has put 20 years plus into this game, going to the depths of hell and back to get that epic set of gear.
Yeah, and you know the other part about it too is don't make it easy to catch it up. If you want a piece of gear, now don't get me wrong, that does sort of sometimes alienate new players, but make it just as hard for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Go through the ringer.
There is definitely something to be said about the difficulty and the reward that comes from something difficult.
And think about, we were talking earlier, you said, what's my favorite time in an MMO and what was my least favorite? You know, think of the memories we have. Imagine if our gear had all those memories on them. Like that would be...
I can tell you this right now. I've done multiple epics in EverQuest. And I always thought it was a shame that I barely ever used them. The one I used the most was the singing short sword from a bard. And everyone who's played a bard or EverQuest knows why you did. But everybody else, there was like almost no point to ever equip it. I mean, you would keep it in your inventory for the clicky effect or whatnot, like the cleric, I can't remember what it's called, water sprinkler or something or whatever. But right? It had a clicky res on it, so they kept it in their inventory and used it when they needed it. The bard kept it because it counted as all instruments, and it was the only weapon that did that. But all the other epics were useless. It's like, what's so epic about doing this long, drawn-out quest just for something that's going to sit in the bank?
Exactly.
Yeah, and the reason is because, you know, how many ideas can you come? So, like you were saying, Epic 2.0, Epic 3.0, Epic 4.0. How many ideas can you have? You're going to cap out. And here's the problem. If you come up with a great idea, everyone's going to hate not having it, but now it's too weak to use it. Doing a system where you upgrade these things brings more possibilities, because that ability that's so great that you came up with, you can now have for how long?
Exactly.
Yeah. You can literally have it for your entire career. Now, granted, that does cause problems in itself.
Yeah.
Because now you've got all these, like, we'll just use a weapon as an example. These weapons that are going to basically go to the vendor because you have your epic. But depending on customization, you might want to have something else that's pretty good for another situation. Like, say it does fire damage now, where your epic would do ice damage, you know, just as an example.
Yeah.
You know, personally, I would, as a tank, I would want to have, you know, gear for my situation. And I know what a lot of people are even saying right now is, I don't want to be a gear collector. And I get that too, because I'm a hoarder. I never have enough bags. So it's one of those things where I would love to see it, but you'd have to put a lot of thought into it.
You know, there's definitely ways to do it, but we're kind of drifting away from our discussion here. So, would you like to see open world housing, instant housing, semi-instant housing, a mix of all three?
Nope, just one. Guild housing. That's it.
Okay. Cool.
Again, it kind of just, I know it's a short answer, but it kind of goes into what I was saying before about making guilds important. Join a guild. If you want to have a really cool place to hang out, why would you want to hang out in a house by yourself? Why would you want to go look at other people's houses? Go hang out with your people in your guild and have a benefit.
Cool.
Yeah,
I loved guild housing when I was in EverQuest too.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun to run around in there and build it up over time.
And help each other out by, like, certain people could make certain things for the... Yeah.
That was cool. So let's go...
Sorry, it just didn't help with the instancing of it, where it separated people from the cities. But, yeah, it was very good the way they did it.
You know what's interesting you say that is, many of you guys played Arcade. So... I also dislike the instancing, but Arcade allowed you to buy plots of land, and it was miserable trying to get land. So that'd be my only fear if it was an instance. That's a tricky subject.
It's definitely not easy to find that balance.
Yeah, another one of those instances where I'm glad I'm not one of the designers.
Exactly.
So let's move on to why you're actually here, and talk about Pantheon Plus for a bit. So, why did you start doing your shows, your podcasts, and why did you launch the website? What was the initial idea behind it? How did it come about?
So, the initial idea, we had done a test project that failed miserably. So, I'll throw that right out there. We did a test project in WoW. We had... have you guys ever heard of Ask Mr. Ro? They're
Sounds familiar.
Sim group. So they're a sim group that got viciously attacked by the theory crafters because they had simulators they created that are really good, but it disagreed with the theory crafters. And a lot of, I'm not going to get super into this because it gets nauseating, but so there's a big battle there, and WoW got into a really bad situation where it was you have to play one way and that's it. And if you don't play that way, you're an idiot and everyone hates you and they won't invite you into a group and blah, 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 blah. So
sounds like a family reunion.
So we never really agreed with that because I had run a guild for quite a while. Outside of the guild I was running, I was leadership or running a guild pretty much my entire WoW career. And one of the greatest things to me was finding a player who was nervous to get into raiding and teaching them how to do it and say, no, you can play that class. Let's just practice up. We'll look up some add-ons to help you learn. And the greatest things that ever happened for me weren't a personal achievement. It was, seeing that person who had a struggle getting into a heroic raid now clearing ahead of the curve with us. And so that little tiny idea of we've done it in a guild format, I'd really like to do it more of a community format we tried to do in WoW. We were too naive. We didn't really have an idea on how to build it, and it kind of fell apart. But what happened is that myself and my backend developer, Poiru, I learned so much in the time that we did that. And I saw this great community and I said, this is the place to go and build a community. This is where you can do it. The game's going to be hard. Kind of like I said before, if you're toxic, you're probably not going to have a good reputation. Your reputation hopefully will matter in this game. So what this whole content was about is let's push out everyone's ideas. Let's make people excited about Pantheon. Let's make people who were nervous to make videos. Let's help them. Let's tell them about it. Let's push them out there. And if I was honest with you, the reason that we make videos is because we want people to know who we are, so that when we're talking about this bigger project, which is way more important to us. Our personal videos that we do for fun. I'm learning how to video edit still. It's just a fun way for me to get hiya doing something. We've done some really cool joint stuff like this. So it's more fun and relationship building for me, where the website is really what I'm trying to drive. And essentially what that is a place you can come to get positive, welcoming information about the game encourage people to share their opinions without being instantly told you're right or wrong. You know, and I'm not, this is where I get in trouble, but I'm just going to be me. It's, you know, Discord, it can either be great, it can be horrible, right? Reddit. And I use all these things. So I'm not hating on these people, but Reddit, the society of Reddit, the people who run Reddit protect trolling and harassment. If you try to stop people from harassing on Reddit, they actually turn you into the, you know, turn in the Reddit itself, the subreddit, to violating Reddit rules. It's censorship. Anytime someone's a jerk to people and someone says, stop being a jerk, they say, you're censoring me. No, we're just taking you out of our community we've made, and we don't want to deal with your crap. So it's not called censorship. It's, you don't have a right to be here. It's a privilege to be here. And we want to create a community that is a privilege to be a part of, whether you're a content creator, a consumer, you want to write articles. We're really excited. We're actually going to be putting out, we have a writer who hasn't written in a while, and he wants to write articles to get some conversation out there. So we're going to be putting his articles up very shortly here. You know, it's just different things. Someone wants to do fan art or write fan lore without getting into the crazy stuff. But you know, put it on there. You know, love Pantheon. What happened in the gaming community where it went from sitting beside your friend on the couch screaming and yelling and giving each other a high five when you got beat, or maybe throwing your controller down, to a death threat? Like, could you imagine sitting next to your friend playing Street Fighter? He's Ryu, you're Ken. He kills you at the end of a round. You're like, I'm doxing you, dude. We're never friends again. I hate you, and I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
What?
Not touching that.
Yeah, we're not gonna go into that quite yet.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I don't understand what happened to gaming communities. End of the day, if anyone is in this community and they don't want Pantheon to succeed, they want to keep yelling about how it's not going to come out. I don't get it. Why are you here? So why can't there be a place we go to where it's just fun? Why can't we go to a place where we're all excited?
Let those enjoy it that want to enjoy it, and those that don't, you know, go enjoy what you enjoy.
And that's not to say I won't be on Reddit and contribute. That's not to say I won't be in the Discord and contribute. And it's not to say there's not great people there. But essentially,
what's up, Lex? You know, Lex is biting his tongue.
Yeah. So you have, you know, you have good people there. And you also, if you want to be a toxic person who complains about the game like crazy, then you can go there. And that's fine. That's where you can go. We want to create something different than that.
Go back to your swamp. So what can people expect to see from Pantheon Plus in the future?
Constant growth. We are constantly going to grow. The site launch was a day one thing. We want to make it prettier. We want to make it more interactive. We want to add more content. We want to drive more content creators. We want to, the other night when we launched our video, we had all the content creators who are with us in there, putting their content up and helping support the community. Baz Graham, Nathan Napalm, Battle Axe, Standing in Fire, Chris Kane. They all came to the video. And we did a YouTube premiere just so that we could talk to everybody. And we made it this cool community get together. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not someone who's full of themselves. I'm humbled to be here. I'm humbled that we're getting anybody hitting our site at all. If it was 5 people, I'd be happy. But I thought that night we would get about 5 people to premiere, then we'd just chat with them. And we got about 133 different people come through. And what was the exciting part wasn't so much that the site was launching, but that you could talk to all these people at one time, and we could just have a drink and have fun. So we've talked a lot about future having events where we get together in a chat room or in a game, and we just kind of hang out and have fun and ask questions and learn from each other. And so what does the future look like? I don't know. I wish I had a timeline drawn out. I will say the site's going to continuously evolve. We're actually probably either tonight or tomorrow already going to evolve our media page pretty shortly. That's going to be huge. Well, huge, but better. We're just going to constantly be looking to do that as we continue to add people in and help drive content. That's essentially it.
Very good. So can anyone sign up or register as a content creator, or do you reach out to them?
It's been a little of both. I've had people reach out to me. That's happened a lot more since the site has launched. Before the site launch, I didn't want to show anybody because I'm a crazy person that likes to do live site editing. So it's sort of a tease. If people said, why is there a plus in between Pantheon.plus? They could have went and looked at the site as I was building it. And we actually, on Reddit, this guy tried to troll us and we said, come join us tonight when we announce our product from Pantheon Plus. And someone says, what's Pantheon Plus? And the guy's like, it's a website. And he linked it. And it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to us.
That's the funny thing about trolls. They don't realize that there's no such thing as bad PR.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, essentially, it's if someone wants to create content, here's what we ask: debate. If you don't like something, go for it. If you want to challenge something that's in the game, go for it. If you're being toxic to be toxic and you're not being helpful about it, or you're not presenting it in a way that is helpful or in a fashion that can be debatable, then you're not going to get content on here. And if we bring you on and we're doing content for you and you go out there and do cause a huge scene and you do stuff, I don't know, guys, this is definitely not all fleshed out, but if you go out there and you do become a toxic contributor to the community, then there's going to be a chance we're either going to warn you or your stuff won't be there anymore. We want people that are, I don't understand why anybody who would want to play this game would want VR to fail. It doesn't make sense to me.
Because some people aren't very bright. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a whole nother podcast. So yeah, I mean, if someone wants the content create, they can submit to us, submit the content. We talk to them a little bit before we put anything up. We're a lot of video content right now. Almost entirely. We have one podcast and mostly video content. Now this person who's going to write articles for us. And that's going to be a unique challenge too, right? So if you sign up for the website as just a user, the only reason you would sign up for the website is so you can comment in the articles. So we need to find a way to, if someone's going to write an article, it won't be useful if there can't be discussion with it. So we're that's why those articles haven't come up yet. And that's why we're still talking with them, is we want to be able to present it in a very big way. So when people go to the site, boom, they're in that discussion. So we're working on that now.
Cool.
Nice.
I suppose it's my turn, huh?
Yes.
That'll be your turn.
I was just trying to keep my mouth shut.
His question is, so tell me what you really like about Reddit. See,
that'd be an awfully short list.
We'll have to do a more towards the nightlife show, maybe. Where
we
can
the VOT
discuss.
uncensored.
Uncensored, exactly. We'll do an uncensored show.
No children allowed. Please.
I read an amazing comment today that it was people see your real face when you put a mask on. It's an interesting topic that I think really highlights that.
See, I think masks chafe, so I don't wear any.
You gotta stop wearing those tight leather ones with the zipper.
Nah, and that big
I keep telling people it's strictly a fashion choice. just like thongs. Like you said,
move us on.
Will you be streaming Pantheon?
Yes. So I live in the middle of nowhere in Florida, and I have DSL internet. That's a real thing still. I am somehow back in the 90s playing It's like playing EverQuest again. So yes, I actually am. I just talked to them today. I'm going to be getting a fixed line into my house, a business line that's just hooked up to my computer. So it's really just learning. I've been doing a lot of YouTube. I like the YouTube community, as funny as that sounds. I know a lot of people disagree and say they like Twitch more, but I've definitely liked the YouTube community. So I've been playing with trying to see if my computer can successfully stream to it. It's been a little rough. I probably could have an easier time on Twitch. So it's will streaming occur? I would say yes. Will it be our top thing we do? No. The website will be number one before any video content we ever put out. That'll be secondary to people that want to see it or hang out.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, if someone were to want to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing so?
You can go to the website. There's a submit button if you want to submit content. If you just want to contact me, you can email me at minus@pantheon.plus. You can hit us up on Twitter. If you ever see us talking on Twitter, it is me. And also on Reddit, it's me. And in Discord, it's me. So really any of those, you can find me. If you're in the Pantheon Discord, you share a server with me so you can direct message me right on there. I try to be openly available to anybody if I have the time, and I am always quick to respond for the most part. So yeah, hit me up.
Cool.
Very cool. So, would you attend a Pantheon type event, and how far would you go to travel to get there?
That's a fun question. So I never have, but would I now? Yes, 100%. I want to have a beer, and this is no negative to anybody else, but Def from Battle Axe, I don't know if you guys have seen, he just rants, and it's awesome, and he just starts screaming and yelling. I need to have a beer with that guy. So if I need to go to a fan show to have a beer with Def, it will happen.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
So
kindred spirits.
I want to meet people. I want to, meet all the different contributors that we get to work with, or even beside it. You don't have to work. You don't have to be part of Pantheon Plus to be part of the community. You know what I mean? It's up to people what they want to do. But yeah, I would really love to hang out with the community and do some sort of events or get-togethers at those. And that's the best place to do it because people already have a reason to go there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So let's fast forward 3 years here. Just hypothetically, we'll say that the game has been released for 3 years. What do you imagine Pantheon has actually evolved into?
That's interesting because in a lot of games you would say, a lot of people are leveling alts, but it's going to... I'll give you a quick thing here. I recently went back onto the test realm for EverQuest, and I looked through the servers, all the ones that are left, and I found my characters. And it was like a moment where I just sat quiet with my hand like this. And it's funny because I have all these stories of being, a wizard, a bard, and a monk. Particularly,
that sounds almost like a joke coming up.
Right?
They walk into a bar.
So I'm looking at them, and I didn't hit even 60 on any of them. And I have these amazing stories from years of playing, and I never even hit max level at the time. And that's just crazy. Well, I guess I did with my wizard, and then Valeus came out and made me worthless. So it was just really interesting. So I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to look like. I would hope that the community is sorry VR. I hope the community is still small. I hope the community is invested. I hope the game is challenging. I hope that when you see a max level character, you can walk up to them and any question you have for them, they're going to know the answer to, and there's going to be a mystique around that person. I hope that there's people that have come through in the community that are those hero type characters, and you'll know them by that. And I hope in 3 years we're talking about a cool expansion and maybe a new race or class.
Cool.
Because I'm such a gracious co-host, I'm going to let you take this last question.
So,
I feel bad you're going to lose.
you just want me to. So the most important question is, who's the VOT host with the most?
So this was the question, that I knew I had to answer, and I had to do my research. And we talked a little bit about the YouTube comments in I think it was video 148. And I saw a guy who was saying everything that I wished I could say. And not only was he saying it, he was saying it to himself. There weren't even other people talking. It was just one after another comments. So I will have to say that, Lex, you've made your mark on me. You are everything I can't be.
Oh, that sounds dirty. I like it.
You are everything I can't be that I wish I could.
Now, here's the funny thing to the trolls that are out there on YouTube.
Oh, we're addressing that?
You're just making me more popular. Come on, let's go. God, yeah. I want to hit TV soon. Come on. Let's go. Overdrive, baby, overdrive.
Oh, late night show with Lex.
Yep. I think we're definitely going to have to explore the late night show, the late night VOT show. Unscripted.
Not safe for work.
Not safe for work.
Not safe for anywhere.
Not safe for anyone.
Your wife, your kids, work.
Yeah.
Your parole officer.
With a subtitle, actually, never admit to watching this.
Would you like to see something like that? Viewers in chat. Would you like to see us do something more unscripted, more rough around the edges, more rigid?
We'll call it Lex Talk.
Yes, we'll do
Late Night Live with Lex Talk.
Yeah, Lex Talk with Lex Talk. Yep. So if you want that, basically, we will explore that endeavor and take it on. So anyway, thanks for joining us.
Take it off.
Yeah. No, you've already taken your pants off, so we don't need to.
I never put them on.
Exactly. So, Minus, it was great having you on.
It was. I really appreciate it.
You know, we want to help the community as much as we can, and we're trying to catch up with all these new people coming out.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
I love it.
And we're trying to get everybody on. So if you are a content creator, reach out to us. If you're a normal person who's a supporter of the community, reach out to us. We want to sit down with more of you and just chit-chat like we've done today and talk about Pantheon and talk about yourselves and, you know, get your experiences, your thoughts. So please reach out to us and we'll set something up. And next week we will be sitting down with Joe Leonard. Melfin, I think is. I'm trying to pronounce his name. I hope I haven't slaughtered it. But we'll be sitting down with him next week to talk a bit about Pantheon and himself and his content that he's creating as well on YouTube. And yeah, it was great having you on again. And we kind of exceeded the normal time limit we do.
Mm-hmm. I talk a lot.
We always exceed the time limit when we have a great guest.
Exactly.
Oh, look, see, I just compliment you and I get the compliments back. I like it. It's a good chat.
But that does not mean that all the other people that were in that time limit weren't great guests. You were.
Hey, how many times have we actually stuck to the limit?
I don't know. Maybe someone would have to explore that and see.
I guarantee you almost
unless it's
never.
like one or two people and you're like, yeah, we probably should call them out on it.
Yeah. Anyway, we hope you all have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you all next Friday, which will be quicker than it could possibly be. I mean, this week went past like that. I mean, I woke up Monday and it's now Friday. It's like, you know, where did the week go? Unbelievable. Anyway, have a great evening and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Take care.